Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got an unplanned commentary for you about small favors and about things with strings attached, because I personally believe that strong favors go further than big ones. The big ones are nice too. So we're going to be talking about people, psychology, a few other things. The gameplay that you're going to get to see is me using the suppressed SVU with an EOTech sight. Not a typical, what I would call, good gun, but a very fun one. And I almost managed to kill the entire team at the beginning here, but this last guy gets me while I'm reloading. The gameplay had some ups and downs, some boring parts, so I actually meshed together two gameplays into one. The other one's going to be a shotgun gameplay on strike zone domination. But back to the topic at hand, and that's favors. I personally believe that small favors go further and are more impactful on a lot of people than big favors. Of course, big favors are good. Sometimes they're life-changing and memorable. Sometimes, though, they just don't stay as long as you'd think, or if you're looking at more of a manipulative standpoint, or if you're trying to, get somebody to like you more, a lot of times doing small things for them helps a lot more than the big things. For whatever reasons, we as human beings like to rationalize the big things. We like to think the other person is manipulating us, that they want something from us. Or a lot of times, if you do something big for somebody, there is sort of an expected reciprocation so that you get back on even terms, or they try to, or you might accidentally overhype what you're doing. So it has a tendency to kind of go wrong for a couple little reasons. But the little things that you do for people, the little favors here and there, the no payback, no trade back, no nothing, they have a tendency to really impact other people's opinion of you and or you of other people, just kind of because it really comes out of the blue and smacks you really hard. Not saying big favors are bad, definitely not, but the little things in life are more important than a lot of people give them credit to. Just kind of like the little subtleties of how I aim this shotgun and move are more important to me surviving than the damage or range or stats of this weapon or anything like that. But I also thought it would be important to talk about strings attached. Actually, probably the better part of this commentary is going to be talking about strings, and the less planned part, because when you attach strings to favors, when you require something in return, when it becomes a reciprocation instead of a gift, it has a tendency to fall apart really fast, and people also have a tendency to not like gifts that they can't control. I'm going to use an example here of when I was a teenager. I was given a truck by my grandfather. He bought it and then went blind shortly after, so it had almost no miles on it. It was like almost a brand new vehicle, but it was his baby. So I got this vehicle with a ton of strings attached. I got a vehicle that I could not drive over a certain mile per hour in. I could only drive to school and back. I could not drive to any events that were fun, nothing for my social life. I could not have any passengers in the car that were not family members. I could not drive past a certain time or period of night. I could not, and the list goes on and on. But there was also more. I had to do this check. I had to do that check. I had to check the oil every 3 days, and what it was more of a way for the man to control me and less of a gift. It was more of a burden than it was something that was useful to me, because I could just drive my old beater to school and back, and then I could still take it wherever else I was going. It didn't really matter to me, just so long as the car was never about showing. It was four wheels that got me to a destination. So we had so many fights about the truck, so many arguments, things went downhill, and it ultimately was just a big burden. So I remember I gave him the keys back one day and was like, look, if I can't do anything with it, then I don't need it. You can take it back. And he was really gobsmacked and he was acting, like very offended that I returned this favor, that I did something so insulting or rude. But I had to explain that it was of no use to me if I'm not permitted to use this item. And there are a lot of things like that. A lot of people give gifts with strings like, oh, I'll give you this money, but you have to do this with it. Or I'll give you this, but you have to help me do that. And it, kind of falls apart. If you give a gift, I always saw the important part of the giving of the gift is that you did it just because you wanted to help the other person, not because you wanted anything in return, or not because you wanted a control or some sort of specific outcome for yourself. And I kind of did the same thing with Salvation Army. It defeats the purpose a little bit, but I don't often take the little tax-deductible donation receipts for donating there, because it just feels like, I get it, it's tax-deductible and nobody likes paying taxes, but it just feels wrong to get something back when the intention was just to give for the hell of it. And I'm going to use a different example here, combining both the small favors and the giving, and I'm going to pick on specific people, one of which is probably watching this video, but I know the guy and he's cool and everything, and the other one we won't mention by name. But a while back when Call of Duty Ghosts first came out, I was interested in getting Spectrum Camo just because it was rare and it was unique, and it was very hard to get. It's still somewhat hard to get today, and you can see I'm running the Spectrum Camo on my SVU here. So I put it on Twitter. I had a couple of people lie to me and say they had Spectrum Camo and try to set me up with this stuff, and it didn't really pan out. But there was a guy who legitimately had Spectrum Camo back when it was rare, back when I probably could have done a video about it and just gotten views based on how rare it was. So I hit him up, and he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. blah. I'll give you a code. He's like, I'm a big fan of you, so I'm just gonna give you a code. And I was like, awesome, okay. And he's like, it takes a day. Let me know. All right. Next day rolls around. He's like, hey man, would you mind giving me a shout out for the code? And I told him, well, I was going to shout you out anyway for doing this, but if you want to, yeah, I was planning to give you a shout out. He's like, all right, can you give me a shout out in a video? And I was like, I was really planning just to do this on Twitter, but I guess I could do that. I don't know. I told him I really didn't want to do a video shout out. I was just, you know, wanting to do it on Twitter. And he's like, how about what I need you to do is I need you to make a video just about this camo and how rare it is, and I need you to tell everybody that you got it from me and shout me out in this video, and then I'll give it to you. And at this point, I just quit caring. I just didn't give any fudges at all. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal to me. And also the person I found to just be very off-putting. Now, if he had initially said, I'll trade you camo for shoutouts, maybe I would have gone for that. But the initial contact was, hey, I'm a fan, I'm just going to give it to you. And then it continually increased to this other sort of stuff that wasn't very appealing, so screw that. And a little bit of time passed, and another person reached out to me. I'll name by name since he's, you know, the good guy in the story. Is Pulverized. You might have seen me talking to him on Twitter, retweet him, or here on the channel a little bit. Probably in some of the videos, actually. I could gameplay with his group on occasion. And he wanted to trade the camo for me. He reached out for the trade, and what he wanted is he wanted me to be able to work with Envious to set up a scrimmage between Envious and his clan. And I told him straight up, right off the bat, like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. The pro team does their own thing. They're in their own little bubble, and if I tell them to go scrim this guy so I can get Spectrum camo, they're just going to tell me to jump in a lake. That's just outside of my ability. I told him I can reach out and I can try. I could work out some other sort of favor or something, but I can't promise this thing that you want. And Paul says, you know what, it doesn't really matter. I've already got the code. I'm not doing anything with it. I think you're a decent guy, and he just gives it to me. And I asked him, he's like, you don't need me to do anything? He's like, no, if you can't get the Envy deal, just don't worry about it. So I added him to my friends list, played with him. Nice guy, decent guy. Play with him on occasion. I don't play Ghost now as much as I used to. I'm into League of Legends a lot and some other games. But when I play Ghost, one of the people that I roll with on occasion is Pulverized. And over time, I've talked to him. He's helped me out with a few other things. But every time Pulverized needs something, like he needs me to retweet something, he needs some sort of information or some sort of help with something, he just gets it. And I view him more highly than the other guy, even though what he was asking for was actually more than what the other guy was asking for, but just because he was upfront about it, and then when it didn't pan out, it's like, it's okay, you can just have this gift anyway, like no strings attached. And the small gift with no strings attached was very impactful to me, that somebody would give it up with absolutely no expectation of reciprocation in return or anything like that. And that's just, that's kind of what I'm like, where I'm at. I don't know if this is super meaningful or impactful for you guys, but it was something that was on my mind, something that I wanted to talk about. Another thing on my mind recently is quickscoping, and that's not what we're going to talk about in this video, but I did pick up the Maverick, and even though it is not a quickscoping gun, and I don't even think I have quick draw on this class, I did just run around trying to kind of snipe people a bit or quirk scope them, and it just, I don't know, I had a little bit of fun here at the end of the game shooting Riley. Very satisfying to kill that annoying dog. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. I've also got links down in the description to my Twitter, to my Twitch, to a couple of different sponsors and other things. And as always, if you've got any questions, comments, or feedback, be sure to leave it down there in the comment box. Drifter out.